The wedding hall was filled with laughter, perfume, and soft violin music. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the bride as she rolled slowly down the aisle, not walking, but in a wheelchair. Her white gown flowed like a river of silk, but whispers rippled through the crowd louder than the music. She can't even walk, and he's marrying her. Someone murmured. The groom's jaw tightened. By the time she reached the altar, his face was pale, hands trembling. And then he did the unthinkable. He turned his back on her and said, "I can't do this." The hall went silent. Her heart shattered. But fate wasn't done with her story. Because sitting quietly at the back, holding his little daughter in his lap, was a single dad who would soon change her life forever. Ava sat in her car that night, staring at her trembling hands on the steering wheel. Her wedding dress was wrinkled, soaked in tears, and the makeup she'd carefully applied that morning now streaked her cheeks. She had been dreaming of this day since she was a child. The moment she'd walk down the aisle, smiling through her veil, meeting the eyes of the man she loved. But after the accident 2 years ago, walking became an impossible dream. She'd begged fate to give her legs back. Instead, it gave her wheels. And tonight, it took her dignity too. When Mark, her fiancé, had proposed 6 months ago, she thought love had conquered everything. He'd held her hand in the hospital and promised, "I'll marry you no matter what." But promises are easy when the future is far away. When it's right in front of you. When every eye in the room sees your bride in a wheelchair. Courage runs out. Ava drove home slowly, her wedding bouquet lying wilted on the passenger seat. Each flower felt like a symbol of broken hope. As she reached her apartment, she found the courage to delete her wedding photos, one by one. Then came the message from an unknown number. "Hi, this is Daniel. I was at your wedding. You don't know me, but my daughter wants to meet you," she said. Daddy, the sad princess, looked lonely. Ava blinked at her phone in confusion. She didn't reply. Not that night. The next day, a knock came at her door. When she opened it, a little girl about 6 years old stood holding a drawing. A bride in a wheelchair, smiling, with a heart drawn beside her. Behind the girl stood her father, tall, tired eyes, holding a paper bag with coffee and muffins. "Hi," he said softly. "I'm Daniel. I know this is strange, but my daughter insisted we come." Ava hesitated. "You were there," he nodded. "I'm sorry for what happened. No one deserves that." "My daughter, she said you looked like a superhero." For the first time since the wedding, Ava laughed. A small, broken sound that somehow felt good. She invited them in. Over the next few weeks, Daniel and his daughter, Lily, began visiting often. They brought warmth into Ava's quiet apartment, laughter, drawings, stories. Daniel was a mechanic, always smelling faintly of oil and soap, but he spoke to her like she was whole. He never looked at her chair, he looked at her eyes. One afternoon, as they shared coffee, Ava confessed, "I feel like my life ended the day I lost my legs." Daniel's gaze softened. "Then maybe it's time to start a new one." Lily tugged at Ava's hand. "You can't walk, but you can fly. Daddy says flying means being brave." Tears filled Ava's eyes. For the first time in years, she felt something inside her stir, hope. Months passed. The world slowly opened again for Ava. With Daniel's help, she started giving motivational talks at local rehab centers, sharing her journey from despair to strength. Her story began to touch hearts, especially after a video of her speech went viral. The one where she said, You can lose your legs and still stand taller than those who walk away from you. Daniel stood in the crowd that day, holding Lily close, eyes glistening with pride. But fate tested her again. One evening, Mark, her ex-fiancé, showed up at one of her events. Cameras flashed as he knelt in front of her, pretending regret. "Ava, I was wrong. Please take me back." The room held its breath. Ava's heart pounded, but this time not from pain. She lifted the microphone, her voice steady. "You left me when I needed you most, but someone else stayed when I had nothing to give. Love isn't about walking beside me. It's about never leaving, even when I can't move." The audience erupted in applause. Mark left in silence. That night, after everyone was gone, Ava rolled onto the stage, staring at the empty seats. Daniel approached quietly. "That was brave," he said. She looked at him with a trembling smile. "You taught me that." He hesitated, then knelt in front of her. Not to propose yet, but just to look her in the eyes. "You've changed my life too, Ava. You've showed me how to heal. Lily and I, we're better because of you." Ava reached out, brushing his cheek. "Maybe we both saved each other." He leaned forward, kissing her forehead softly. Lily ran onto the stage, hugging them both. "Are we a family now?" she giggled. Ava laughed through tears. "Yes, sweetheart, we are." Years later, Ava rolled down another aisle, this time surrounded by people cheering, not whispering. Daniel waited at the end, holding Lily's hand, his smile radiant. As he took Ava's hands, he whispered, "You're the strongest woman I've ever met." And this time, there was no one turning away. Only love, standing tall. Because true strength doesn't come from walking. It comes from rising again, even when the world expects you to fall.